Hi there, and welcome to the second S set. I will show you how we can statistically set and analyze our progress. We'll start off with the little list, starting with location, the item's name, and the quantity. In our scenario, we only have 3 locations: our drawers, our cupboards, and our racks. In our drawers we have kept all of our socks, in our cupboards we have kept all of our shirts, and in our racks we have kept all of our shoes. The amount found there was 20, 8 shirts, and 12 shoes. After this, we can now move on to statistically calculating what we have. I should demonstrate this inside the next sheet. Our next sheet, we'll be looking at our socks to see if we've set it statistically in a good way. Let me show how this is done. We write down the item that we're testing, which would be our socks, the amount of days that we're testing it for. So that's 1, 2, 3. So in this case, we're testing it for the whole week. I'll just drag down the word socks just to populate the rest of the list. We write down the quantity. So looking at our first sheet, we could start off with 20. Then we had 26, maybe 22, 24, 20. Maybe we lost a couple of pairs, and we ended up having 20 socks at the end of the week. After this, we can calculate our standard deviation. This is a simple Excel equation, and it's done by equals STDEVA, selecting all of your quantities and hitting enter. We can hit equals, select the number above, and now we can populate the rest of the column. Next would be to calculate the average. This is equal to the word average. We want to select all of our quantities again, hit enter, equals, select the one above, enter, and now we can populate the rest of our column. After this, we want to work out the upper control limit, also known as the UCL. This is your average plus 1 or 2 standard deviations. In our case, we're just going to use it as 1 standard deviation. Average, add on standard deviation, and as before, equals the number above so that we can populate the rest of the column. After this, we calculate our LCL, or our lower control limit as it's called, and this is equivalent to our average subtracted standard deviation. As before, we can equals the number above, and we can populate the rest of the column. Now we can draw a chart to represent this data. I'll show you how we do this. Starting off with our quantity, we can now calculate a quick bar chart. This should be represented over our 7 days. Now we can click this option over here called Select Data. We can add in series name, our average, enter. The value for our average is everything represented over the 7 days, enter. Okay, we can also add in this one, our upper control limit, and then we'd select all the data for our UCL, hit on OK. We can now add in our lower control limit, always mention LCL, and then we'd select all of the values for our lower control limit as well. We can now edit our horizontal category by selecting the options here with days 1 to 7, and OK. This has now represented as quite a few column charts. If we change the chart type to a combo chart. We want to make our LCL selected as a line, our UCL selected as a line, our average selected as a line, and we just want our quantity to be a clustered column. Once we click on OK, we have now ended up with a graph that can represent our upper control limits, lower control limits, and averages. Let me see if I can add in some legends over here. So as selecting the legend option, we can see what we have now. Our quantity represented in blue, our average represented in orange, our grey represents our upper control limit, and the yellow represents our lower control limit. Looking at the data over here, we can see 2 points fall below our lower control limit and 1 point falls above our upper control limit. So basically 2 points are out of control. If we analyze this further, we can see how to get it into control. So I'll give a moving example as I explain how the numbers affect. Let's say for the next day, we decide next week we're going to have 28 pairs of socks. We notice that might fall out of our control limits, but it's brought the fact that 26, 24 and 22 socks can still be placed inside that drawer. Let's say the next day it stayed at 28. We've started to notice we might be running out of space because previously everything fitted in, but maybe the 28 pairs of socks might be out of space. Let's say we've added in more socks. With the addition of more socks shows that our 228s could fall within our control limits and there was enough space, but 30 might be a bit too much. What I'm trying to iterate is, the closer we try and go to our UCL value, the better we can do. In this case it would be 28.7, but we call it 29 to round it off. The next one, if we round it off again, that would be closest to 30. This is only looking at our UCL. This will help us decide what our maximum stock will be. So our suggested upper control limit would be 31. So we can put in 31. We notice that all of our stock can still fit inside there. And then we notice over there it's 32. But now we notice, but when we followed the upper control, 32 seemed to be the one. But you notice the average has now gone back to 31. If we have 32, we'd be overstocking as represented by the blue above our upper control limit. But not only this, if we have 28 again, as represented in the bottom two blue, we'd be under our lower control limit, not effectively using our space. So if we're trying to maximize space, we're always trying to aim for our UCL limits. So next week, we'd aim to have 31 in stock. Next week after that, instead of 28, we aim to have 31 in stock. And as you notice, the more we're following our UCL limit, the more we can actually add inside our place. That's another 32. And that's 32. That's another 32. And I think you see what's happening here. The more we do it, the closer to the UCL we get. And now we have reached the spot where every single thing is actually within limits for us, all 32. There's no standard deviation. And now we have calculated our max and our best place to set it. Let's change this and assume that we had half the amount of stock. In this case, 16. You notice over here, if we want to go to our, trying to up our pace, next day we got 16, the next day we got 15, the next day we got 14. These ones are just lower amounts, but just randomly to show you how we improve our space usage. So we can see over here we're trying to aim for the number 16 in order to maximize our space. So I'll change all of them to 16s. The next one would be a 16 as well. The next one would be a 17. The one after that would be a 17. And the one after that looks like it's an 18. Okay, now we notice it's fallen out of space, but our UCL is suggesting 17, so we shall go back to 17. For next week we're saying we can still pack in 17. Now it's gone back up to 18. Now it's gone back up to 18. 18. 18. Next result would be 18 and 18. Now we can see that if we do have no standard deviation and our initial idea and thought was 16, we could actually squeeze in 18 pairs of socks depending on how much it actually deviates in that area. And that is how you can set statistically and analyze whether you've set it in the correct space. So let me just review everything for you. We start off with a location, so we've got drawers, cupboards and racks. Next we name the items in that location, socks, shirts and shoes. Next we count the quantity in those locations, 20, 8 and 12. We create a new tab. In this case I want to see if we set our socks correctly, named it as socks. Listed down all the items, the 7 days we're testing it for, and the quantities initially received, because initially this would just be blank as we're filling it in. Then we can calculate its standard deviation, which would be represented here. Average, its upper control limit and its lower control limit. This then will be drawn into a chart, a combo chart, where the 3 lines are represented by the UCL, LCL and average, and the quantity will be represented as a bar chart. None of these lines should be put on the secondary axis. I hope you enjoyed seeing how to set things statistically, and naturally we'd go on now to doing our shirts, and I think our shoes as well. I hope you enjoyed watching how to set statistically, and I hope this has helped. Please stay tuned for the third S and see how we shine statistically.